Dennis, this is a film kind of against the current because it's a film made as far as I know, it was made step by step. So, or did you have a script from the beginning, or did you work it?
There was no script. It was kind of like a story, an outline, and not knowing exactly what would happen in front of the camera or who would be in it. I was waiting to see who would come with their desire, such as our two actresses, and then find something in them that makes me write scenes instead of writing them beforehand. And it was the same for every actor in the film. And also, it's a film that was done with an incredible luxury of freedom. And let's say that our producer, Pablo Blanco, pushed to try to do a film as an experience where we don't plan everything ahead of time and then film what we plan, which sometimes is great, such as Hitchcock did or other great directors, but with like the only luxury being freedom, with almost nothing to do this film with, try to find cinema anyway in it, you know. And so that basically what was really interesting was just every day trying to hear through what was going on between the actors and actresses, and especially these two actresses, what can we get out of it, you know, what does it mean? So I'd write at nighttime. It was very written, though, it's not at all improvised, very written dialogue, and then the next day, my friend Leonard would type it up with me, and they would get it. They would have like an hour or two to learn it, and we'd shoot, you know.
And even the poems we listened to in the film, you wrote them.
I wrote some of them after the film and some of them before the film. I mean, like the poem about the prison was written before we started shooting. It was the first poem I wrote. It's probably the first thing I wrote about this film. Is about being locked up in jail and what it does to somebody, and how she basically, through her experience of being in jail, became a poet, not knowing it, kind of like a savage poet or a primitive poet.
And in this first outline, you had already in mind this kind of a group of young outsiders, or you had just thought of two main characters that are...
No, we had the group of outsiders, everybody who, we don't know if they chose to not fit or society don't let them fit, but then they existentially decide not to fit as a way to have a proudness of existing, with the character of Catarina be a little bit in contradiction because she has the beginning of a success as an underground icon in London, but her fame is based on everything that's horrifying and fake, linked to a sexual scandal. But the story is really somebody coming out of jail who has nothing in the world, who's an orphan, and who received a letter from somebody who says, you're special, you have something, you have beauty in you, you have soul, you have poetry. And she looks for this woman as a form of salvation, you know.
And in those, while we were shooting, and with the improvisation, there was also. Did they participate, let's say, in the script also?
Not very much, because frankly, it was not at all that way. I mean, in other terms, sometimes they said one or two wonderful suggestions, or they would say this line is a little bit tough, but most of the time it was very written. And what they did is try to bring life to it and find ways to do it in a very free way. The way we stage it was very free. They would find profoundly something to make what's written true, but what was written was not based on how we talked about it. The other funny thing is we planned the film with those two falling in love and leaving together, and normally the film was planned in my head for there to be the hope of love, but she was not available for the beginning of the film, and Catarina was not available for the end. So basically, the reason why in the script they separate is because I lost my actress. And at the same time, these confinements, these restrictions, bring creativity and more originality than if you do everything that's planned. Probably if it would have planned, it would have been a little bit more soapy, the film. So basically, it was a wonderful accident for the film.
Okay, now, how did you, this work of improvisation, was it difficult for you to do? How did you did it with Dennis?
Well, it was quite exciting, actually, that we had the line in the evening and we didn't know what we were going to play the next morning. So we felt quite free, I think. We had a sort of, and at the same time Dennis knows what he wants, so. But we had a lot of work to, we shot it a lot, so it was a wonderful experience to play the scenes many times and to work on them.
Catarina, did you feel afraid sometime, or you?
No, I maybe should have, because, well, I believe that the great richness was that we were shooting without rehearsing too much. So we were having those lines, well, some hours before, but we were still very free, even if we didn't have that much time. Well, because we didn't have that much time to repeat and to repeat ourselves. So that was the true freedom. It was maybe the time that I felt lost. No, I don't recognize myself either working or looking at me. Normally I don't suffer that much or look, but this time I don't recognize, because we were in that freedom, because we were not thinking, we were delivering. And I think when we spend some years acting, there's the danger of repeating ourselves or repeating the recipes of whatever we know about playing or about us as performers. So it was beautiful to make that refresh and play young again. I felt at the beginning. Thank you, Dennis.
What I can say is that it took a lot of guts and courage for these actresses to go all the way in an unknown land, and I really want to thank them, because they really took chances and played the game and took risks. And you know, you pay with your soul and body as an actor, and it's very, very violent. It's when you're hidden behind the camera as a director, it's easy to just ask for things, but they really put out, and I thank them both very much, and Joao too, and even Hugo, who's not here tonight because he's shooting a film in the north of Portugal called Patrick.
Well, now we can open up to the audience.
I have a tiny question, please. I was really kind of, deeply in what was happening, particularly towards the end, and I loved the ending. That's what I'd like to say. But I didn't understand about the death of the young man, Leo. Yeah. When I saw the blood on his mouth, I thought that he must have taken something and committed suicide. So it would be all right to be open about that and report it to the police. Have I misunderstood that? Did someone else do it?
What's great, is, I like the fact that you dreamt that, in your head. The truth is, what I had planned is he gets hit over the head, and it's so brutal that a few days later, something in his brain starts to leak and blood comes out of his mouth. But at the same time, if the audience would see a suicide, I think it's fantastic. The truth really is, it's not a film that wants to be explicit psychologically and name everything. No, he was hit over the head, but that's okay, He was hit over the head, but we probably had a hard time shooting it because we had no stunt coordinator and a stick that broke. But anyway, I liked very much your impression of his suicide. In a way, it probably is a suicide. He has nowhere to go.
Catarina, for the questions.
The evil murderer.
Hi. So you said you had no actresses in the beginning and in the end. So was the first scene
I said that I had one actress at
Yes.
the beginning and the other at the end, but I didn't have them together, so I had to change what I had planned, which was for them to leave together.
So it's just a curiosity. Was the first scene and the last scene shoot at the same time?
The last scene, the beginning of the film was shot once Catarina had to leave for another film. So we did the beginning all the way at the end of the film.
Okay, yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so because the movies, the last scene is the same, she's wearing the same clothes, and it's the same nighttime.
That's also.
So that's what I thought, it was shot at the same time.
That was also because I wanted her to leave the way she arrived. That was planned because she could have left with other clothes. That was easy to do. It was also just because I thought that once she lost Catarina in the film, she goes back
To
who
where
is.
she was, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you.
Hi, congratulations for the movie. I like it a lot.
Thank you very much.
Just one small questions. Any special inspiration for the male characters?
For the minor characters?
The male characters.
Well, here's the thing.
You know.
The actor Joao, that's I think is among us. I saw the first time I arrived in Portugal with Anna, that's here. I saw a screen test of a film he was supposed to do in Mozambique, which he did after our film actually, and he had like snakes on his head. It was like very strange. I saw his face and I said, he has to be in the film. And he got into the film, and his character came from my seeing the screen test. The other character, Hugo Fernandez, I wanted a very kind of dark Dostoevskian character, very close to Stravogin, but I never met an actor who wanted to come. And then I met Hugo, who in those days, he was 17, he was a painter basically. I thought he had some kind of strange sparkle in his eye, and he was the only one I met that kind of caught my attention as being alive and wanting very badly to come, because I must say that everybody in this film came only out of desire. They chose the film as much as I chose them, because basically there was no money to say, let's hire you with a good salary. So that basically you see everything is based on desire, which is also why I say the freedom of this film and the luxury of this film is freedom.
I ask that also because they looked like kind of Rambo characters, and I saw a picture of Rambo in one wall, and Leo looked like him.
What makes me very happy, I mean,
it's interesting.
and
also Nino.
If other people pick up what you saw and the critics will write that he looks like Rambo, I'll be delighted. Yeah.
No, and also the character, and also Nino. It's well,
I understand, I agree. I mean, they're very
lost,
much, you know, they're ready to burn their life, taking all chances, knowing there's no way out. They'll probably end up destroyed or in prison or dead, you know.
Thank you.
No more questions? Okay. I think we can close it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.